at the abilities of people, because when you deliver services, you need someone that is able to deliver the service, not whether that person is black or white. That is not our game. Our game is to give the residents the best services possible, and to get that, you need the best person in the position.
All right, some news regarding Zimbabweans living in South Africa. The Home Affairs Department has now withdrawn its directorate to stakeholders in banking, learning and employment to discontinue services to Zimbabweans. That means that Zimbabweans, it seems, will continue to receive services across those sectors. The Zimbabwe Exemption Permit was due to expire at the end of this year, and there's been huge ructions about that. There is now a grace period for another 12 months. There has been some confusion about this issue after some media outlets reported that the South African government had actually reversed its decision to send the approximately 200,000 Zimbabweans home. One international story has since been withdrawn, though. So let's unravel this. The current exemption program was initiated in 2017 and it comes to an end in December. But the grace period now effectively means it comes into effect next year, and we're just looking at what Home Affairs has had to say. Let's discuss further. We're joined by a researcher in the Refugee and Migrant Rights Programme, Tshegofatso Mothapo. Thank you for being with us. Is it correct to say that right now, as it stands, these Zimbabweans will still be sent home? That is the idea, but there is a grace period, and because Home Affairs has withdrawn its directorate, they can still receive services for the next year?
Thank you so much actually for having me. I do want to point out or confirm that what you have just said is correct. Home Affairs did not say anything further besides just that they are withdrawing the circular or the directive for now. We do think we will be hearing from Home Affairs probably, but for now, the information we currently have is that they have withdrawn the circular as of current.
What services does that affect? Would it have affected?
So, I mean, our main worry is that, from the clients that we have who are currently on the exemption permit, we always worry about services such as birth registration, access to healthcare, access to education for such learners, right? Especially considering that a lot of learners have still not been placed as we speak in the province, particularly Gauteng. And so now our main worry was how schools and districts will receive and accept, this decision by Home Affairs or the initial circular or directive by Home Affairs, because we know that, generally receiving access to services in the country is already a challenge as it is for many.
Yeah, and education is so crucial. So to make this very practical, it means a young Zimbabwean boy or girl who wanted to go to a particular school, or their parents wanted to put them in a school, can still enroll. Somebody who wants to be in tertiary education can still enroll for the next year.
Definitely. It is a reprieve for now, but I do know that the current ongoing case or agent that has been launched is something that will most probably also continue from what several news outlets have reported. Because of the fact that the long-standing issue remains, the fact that the government has made its stance clear that they do intend on eventually phasing it out, which would have severe consequences. And one of the reasons which was cited for the agency in bringing this issue to court from the various parties that have filed in court was the fact that currently one of the requirements for a Zimbabwean for any permit actually in South Africa is to get is to get a police clearance, which would take time from both South African and Zimbabwean authorities, which would mean people traveling in and out of the country and then kind of missing this deadline that Home Affairs had already placed previously.
Yeah.
So it is quite important that, it is a step. Right now, the fact that they have kind of removed or withdrawn the circular is a step, but the work is not done as yet. This will still have to be challenged in court.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the overall decision? What is your stance on South Africa basically deciding to send back hundreds of thousands of Zimbabwean nationals? Not right now, because there's a grace period, but that is South Africa's stance, that they should go home. Is it a callous decision?
So
I mean, this was temporary, but it's permanent in many people's minds that they have a life here.
Thank you so much. That is so true in a lot of ways, particularly because this decision came at the very least last minute. Right. So this was meant to, many permits are expiring at the end of the year, which is 31 December, and whole year. Organizations have kind of been reaching out, several groups of people or even individuals have been reaching out to Home Affairs requesting an update as to whether this will be renewed or not. And come the 29th of November, and Home Affairs says, actually, we intend on not renewing these permits, or people cannot reapply for these permits. And so now that kind of making the decision very arbitrary, right? Because the minister has the discretion to do that, but ultimately he works under the Constitution, which is very clear that any administrative decision should not be made in a manner that does not provide the affected persons with written reasons, right? Or like that it should allow people to also make formal representations, and none of that has been done. This decision was made arbitrarily on that basis, because we have the Promotion of Access to Justice Act, PAJA, which is very clear that any decision needs to be made, fairly and lawfully.
Yeah.
And so now this doesn't seem to have been the case. There were no written reasons from the minister as to why he is also withdrawing. I mean the permit.
All right. Well, I was actually going to ask, is this a callous decision given the length of time that people have lived in South Africa, or has government put forward rational reasons? You're saying there are no reasons on the table right now, although I guess it was always going to come to an end. That was the idea.
Yeah, so the minister has not communicated any reasons, and part of the other problem here is that we have to consider that we also have pregnant women, right, who have children due, and this movement isn't going to help the situation either, because once Home Affairs requires valid documentation from both parents to register a birth of a child, and should anybody give birth during a period where they are waiting to hear from Home Affairs about other visas they've applied for, it will result in a lot of children being born undocumented, particularly because now they cannot rely on the ZEP status of their parents. And another problematic element is that, Home Affairs says that people should apply for other mainstream visas, right, which would be your work visas, your study visas, which are currently very restrictive and very limiting in that some people don't have the critical skills. And some people, the other issue being that currently Home Affairs has a backlog in issuing decisions on visas in general, and so we do not see Home Affairs, even with the grace period, processing those visas timeously, and kind of even, ensuring that there is a speedy response. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll follow the situation for the grace period, which is now 12 months. So Zimbabwean nationals living in South Africa under that exemption program are expected to return home, just not yet. And no doubt this will be fought in the courts over coming months. We'll follow that. That was Tshegofatso Mothapo from Lawyers for Human Rights, researcher in the Refugee and Migrant Rights Programme.